Right now, there is a single fire in Oregon that is the size of, well, it's the size of multiple major metropolitan areas combined.
It is a totally staggering mobilization.
Yeah. The U.S. has hit preparedness level 5, which is our maximum national alert. And to fight back, we are literally borrowing armies from the other side of the planet.
We really are. So today we're doing a deep dive specifically into the Daily Tech Reader's August 20, 2026 Wildfire Report.
Exactly. And our mission for you today is to basically unpack the sheer scale of this current crisis, dissect the incredibly paradoxical weather driving it, and look at the massive global logistics required to just keep it in check.
Right.
Just to ground this in the data you sent over 7.5 million acres have burned across the U.S. so far this year. I mentioned that Oregon fire, the big grass incident. It's sitting at 579,007 acres. I mean, the scale is so massive, it just fundamentally breaks traditional firefighting models.
It really does. You can't just send, a convoy of local fire engines to handle a 500,000-acre front. It doesn't work. The report actually details a full-blown international and military supply chain.
Wow.
Yeah, we've got 196 fireline personnel from Australia and New Zealand deployed right now in the Northwest and Great Basin.
And the military integration is just as heavy, right? Joint Base Lewis McChord deployed 240 soldiers specifically to Washington's Little Giant Fire.
Right, which is pushing 138,000 acres on its own.
Jeez. Plus, military C-130 air tankers are flying out of bases in Colorado, Nevada, California. The logistics of integrating foreign specialists and active-duty military into a civilian command structure in real time is just wild.
Well, that plug-and-play capability is only possible because of the incident command system.
Okay.
Every single resource, whether they, flew in from Sydney or drove down from a local base, they operate under the exact same organizational structure, so they speak the same tactical language from day one.
I do have to question the resource allocation outlined here, though. I mean, the report shows we're dumping massive military resources into those six-figure acreage fires up north. But looking at the data, the Southwest is seeing, quote, monsoonal moisture and scattered thunderstorms.
Right.
So given that moisture, shouldn't those southern incident teams be reallocated north where things are bone dry?
See, that's a logical assumption, but it completely ignores the paradox of how these specific storm systems operate. Those scattered thunderstorms in the Southwest are actually accelerating the crisis, not damping it down.
Wait, accelerating? Because they're producing dry lightning instead of meaningful rain.
Exactly. The atmosphere is just so dry that the precipitation evaporates before even hitting the ground.
Oh.
But the lightning still strikes the tinder dry brush, and worse, those storm cells generate massive, erratic outflow winds.
Ah, right. So the storm essentially acts like a giant fan instead of a sprinkler system, just whipping these sudden violent gusts in totally unpredictable directions.
Spot on. And this is all happening underneath a brutal, high-pressure dome baking the West. The report notes temperatures hitting 110 degrees.
Unbelievable.
With relative humidity dropping into the single digits. So that weather engine takes those outflow winds and turns them into an absolute nightmare for containment.
Which brings us to why those erratic winds make smaller fires punch way above their weight class.
Yeah.
Because if we look at the Frijoles fire in New Mexico.
Right, the one that's about 13,000 acres.
Yeah, it's only about 13,000 acres. It's a fraction of the big grass fire.
Yeah.
But it's the one forcing immediate evacuations and threatening critical infrastructure.
Exactly.
Those outflow winds you just mentioned are driving what the report flags as crowning, group torching, and long-range spotting.
And that terminology is exactly why acreage doesn't always equal danger.
Right, because if a fire is crowning, meaning it's running through the upper canopy of the forest, entirely independent of the ground. And long-range spotting is throwing burning embers miles ahead of the main fire front. It just renders traditional containment lines completely obsolete.
It completely leapfrogs the firefighters. And that's the critical takeaway for you when reading this report. A 13,000-acre footprint sounds manageable on paper.
Sure.
But when the fire behavior dictates that it can bypass a highway or a bulldozed fire break in seconds, it can immediately threaten residential subdivisions before evacuation orders even go out.
So synthesizing all this data, the biggest thing you need to take away from this 2026 report is that modern firefighting is, well, it's a globally coordinated campaign against an environment that is actively weaponizing the weather.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And we are entirely reliant on a pretty fragile international logistical chain to hold the line.
And that reliance leaves us with a pretty unsettling question. Right now, we depend heavily on those highly skilled crews from Australia and New Zealand because historically, our fire seasons alternate.
Right. We help them, they help us.
Exactly. But as shifting global weather patterns stretch those seasons, what happens to our entire firefighting infrastructure if the northern and southern hemisphere fire seasons expand to the point where they completely overlap?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If their continent is ablaze at the exact same time as ours, who comes to help?
That is a terrifying thought to leave on.